Hello again. Today we are going to be learning to add the suffix ness to some root words. So the root words are all adjectives which describe nouns, and we're going to add ness to those adjectives and we're going to turn them into nouns. They're slightly tricky nouns though, because they're things that you can't actually, they're things that aren't objects. You might be able to see them, you might be able to hear them, you might be able to touch them, but they're not actual things, so they're quite tricky nouns, these. So we're going to start with an adjective, damp, and we're going to change that to dampness. Dampness is something that you might be able to smell sometimes, you might be able to feel it if something's a little bit wet. So watch what I do. I'm just going to change damp to damp, s. So now we have dampness. So that was really straightforward. We just put ness on the end. There are some root words which are a little bit more tricky. So if we sound this one out, we've got blotchy, blotchy. Something could be blotchy. Sometimes your skin can go blotchy if you have a rash. So we're going to change blotchy to blotchiness. Blotchiness is a thing, but you might be able to see it, but it's not an actual object. So watch what happens when I change blotchy to blotchiness. So I'm going to cross out the Y. I'm going to change that to I, and then I'm going to add oh, could I squeeze that in on the end? So that now says blotchiness. So most root words, when you want to add ness, you just put ness on the end. If your root word ends in a Y, you need to change the Y to I before you add your ness. So we're going to use those two rules to help us play this fishing boat race game. So there are two fishing boats racing to get the fish which are over here, and they've got some waves they need to ride over in their boats. So each time the boat gets a root word, it can jump forward over one wave. So if we have to just add ness to a word, it's going to go for this boat. If we have to change the Y to I and add ness, then it will move this boat. So you might want to have a little guess to start with. Which boat do you think is going to get to the fish first? Do you want to choose one? So when you've chosen your boat, we'll now start to have a look at the words and see which boat can start moving first. So this word here, we have cold, cold. That doesn't quite sound right. It's old, cold. So cold, we're going to change to coldness. Coldness is something that you might feel if you're a little bit chilly. So have a think. Can you point to the boat that's got the spelling rule? If you think we've just got to add ness, point to this boat. If you think we need to change the Y to I and then add ness, point to this boat. Right, we've got no Y to change to I, so this is a really easy one. We're just going to add s, and that goes with this boat. Just add ness, and that boat is going to move over the first wave. That boat is in the lead. If that was your boat, you can give a little cheer. Let's have a look at the next root word. So this says bossy, bossy. If we change that to bossiness, you might spot bossiness if you see someone being bossy. So bossiness. Have a think. Point to the boat that you think has the spelling rule. Are we just going to add ness to make bossiness, or are we going to change the Y to I and add ness? Point to the boat you think's going to move. Okay, this has a Y on the end, so we need to cross that out and change it to I, and then we add our ness. So that says bossiness. That's going to go on the back boat. So let's move that back boat forward. Oh, neck and neck. Let's look at the next one. Here's your next word. We've got airy. So a room might be airy if you've got lots of air and lots of fresh air in there. So airiness is something that you might be able to feel when you're breathing. If a room is very airy, you can often feel airiness. So when we change airy to airiness, point to the boat that you think's got the rule. Just add ness, or change the Y to I and add ness. So we have a Y. We need to cross that out. We need to change that to I, and then we add ness. So that says airiness. Changing the Y to I, that's the back boat. That's going to jump over another wave. That one's in the lead, so give a cheer if that's your boat. Let's look at our next adjective. We're going to change this into a noun. So we've got bad. We're going to change that to badness. You might spot if there's badness, if people are doing bad things. So badness, point to the boat that you think has the spelling rule. So there's no Y to change. We are just going to add ness to make badness. So just adding ness. That's this boat here. Oh, it's a draw again. Let's look at the next word. Let's look at this adjective. Good. If we change that to goodness, goodness is something that you might feel if there's people doing lots of good things around you. So goodness, point to the boat that has the spelling rule. So goodness, we've got no Y to change. So we're just going to add s. That goes with this boat, just add ness. So that boat's in the lead now. Let's look at the next adjective. So this says b-e-n-d-e, bendy. So we're going to change that into a noun, bendiness. You might be able to see if there's bendiness, if an object you can bend really easily. So if we're changing bendy to bendiness, point to the boat that's got the spelling rule. We have a Y here, so we need to change the Y to I, and then we add s. Bendiness. That goes with the boat at the back. Change the Y to I. So let's move that boat forwards one. Oh, it's a draw again. I wonder which is going to be the winning boat. Who's going to get to those fish first? Let's see. Let's look at this adjective. This says angry. So let's change that adjective angry into angriness. That's a noun. That's a thing. You might be able to feel if there's angriness around, if there's lots of angry people. So let's change angry to angriness. Point to the boat that has the spelling rule. So we have a Y on the end. Let's change that Y to I and add So now we have angriness. That goes with the big boat at the back. Change the Y to I. So that is the winning boat. It has reached the fish first. So if you chose that boat at the very beginning of the video, then you can give yourself a little cheer. So hopefully you've now learnt 2 spelling rules to help you when you are writing nouns which end in ness. Hope you enjoyed that.